Hey. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News. I'm Craig Nolan. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Daniel Pineda.
And I'm Richard Corus.
And here we go with another show somewhere getting pretty close to Halloween.
Uh-oh.
As you may have noticed by our fine display of sugary items sitting in front of us here.
I'm definitely having the Snicker bar.
Let me see. What do we got? News and Community Bulletin Board. And Richard is here sitting in again for Adele this week with another installment of
It's Easy Being Green.
Just like we practiced.
Not
It's
orange,
amazing.
not orange.
CBB, as I mentioned, Denise is talking about Sleepy Hollow and Heisenberg tonight in her reviews, our News for Seniors segment, and then a roll-in from our styrofoam mom, Miriam Gennari. And that's our show, but before we begin, a social media reminder from Senior Pineda.
Absolutely, Mr. Nolan. You can watch the Arlington Weekly News on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Arlington Weekly News. And you guessed it, everyone, the number 1. Also, facebook.com/Arlington Weekly News. And also on the radio.
And also on the radio, WURA 96.7, LPFM. Check us out. We're there. Okay, here we go with the first of our news items in our news segment. Well, the Arlington County Police Department is teaming up with local restaurants. I guess I got to read this off the hard copy here. That's why we have hard copies. In an effort to maintain, there we go, thank you, the level of nightlife while reducing alcohol-related crime. It's called the Arlington Restaurant Initiative, or ARI, and it includes fake ID training, de-escalation training, and responsible alcohol service training. Wilson Hardware was an early adapter when the program was piloted back in February. According to co-owner Faris Garib, the idea is that cumulative effect will have a net benefit not only for customers and guests, but also the residents of the community at large. And that was, we were quoting there. Restaurants holding a license from Virginia Alcohol, Beverage, and Control are eligible to participate. Daniel.
Well, here's some very exciting news. Crystal City will soon get its own bowling alley. Bolero, a combination bowling alley and restaurant, is planning to move into the Buchanan building that's located at 320 23rd Street in the fall of 2019. It will offer 32 lanes, a full bar, and a restaurant with burgers, pizza, and you guessed it, wings. Existing Bolero establishments appear to be limited to 10-pin bowling, so duck pin enthusiasts may still have to travel either north to Maryland, west to Shenandoah, or south to Portsmouth. Mini bowling is not the same.
Bowling coming to Crystal City. That's exciting. That is exciting news. Here's another of our news items. Here's some good news for opera lovers. The 3 baritones, Alex Albuquerque, Eduardo Castro, and Jose Sachin, pardon my pronunciation, will be performing a collection of arias from Don Giovanni, Carmen, West Side Story, along with several Spanish and Zuzela favorites, as well as other classical and modern tunes. That's coming up Sunday, October 28th at 3 in the afternoon at Marymount University's Ranch Auditorium. They're located at 2807 North Glebe Road. Admission ranges from $10 to $25. Daniel.
Well, Craig, Arlington Independent Media submitted a request for equipment to Arlington County in June of this year, but it has not yet been received. At an open door meeting the past Monday, County Board member Eric Gutschall said that he was not aware of the intentional delay in the processing of the request, but that he would try to determine the reason. Mr. Gutschall confirmed that the equipment budget is treated separately from the capital expenditures budget and the staffing budget. We will provide more information as it becomes available.
All right, stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. And we'll be back with CBB, Community Bulletin Board, right after we hear from Richard sitting in for Adele and another installment of
It's Easy Being Green.
Here's Richard.
Woo! You may have heard discussions about plans for some of Arlington's parks. You may have heard about the effects on Arlington's tree canopy. You may even have heard about Arlington's plans to include green space in various development projects. These may all sound similar, but they have some differences. Green space is often defined as non-place padding but between buildings, or to set them back from the street. it can be nothing more than a narrow strip of grass. A park can include an extensive amount of largely uncultivated forests, like Glencarlin Park. Or it can be a playground with lots of pavements and a few trees, like Herndon Park. Tree canopy consists of actual living trees in an area, whether on private or public property. The tree canopy provides the majority of atmosphere cleaning processes. Brandymore Castle, with only a handful of unpaved trails, is a good example. On warm, sunny days, it's possible to actually experience the difference. Try walking or biking to the Hunter Park in Clarendon. It's pleasant and pretty, but largely paved, so you won't feel much of a difference in the temperature. Then go out on the W&OD Trail to Brandymore Castle, just past the Madison Manor Park. Standing at the edge of the trail, you'll often notice a perceptible drop in temperature and a slight breeze coming from within the wooded area. That refreshing feeling is no coincidence. You're getting oxygen from the trees. There's trade-offs. Narrow green spaces keep buildings closer together so that for shopping or dining, it's easier for people to get from place to place. On the other hand, they provide little, if any, habitat for wildlife. Parks with playgrounds and ball fields are relatively safe for people, especially children. They tend to be visible, accessible, and controlled. However, unless they also provide substantial unpaved tree areas, they don't do much for either the wildlife or the atmosphere. Largely uncultivated areas like Brandymore Castle are better for wildlife and the air supply, but not very accessible for people. It's Easy Being Green understands the need to blend green space, parks, and the tree canopy.
Aha, and there you have it, another installment of EBG. And talking about the tree canopy, you know, I like trees, and it's always good to see a tree growing and flourishing. But boy, when they cut them down, and they did a bad one here not too long ago. They cut down a very historic tree.
Right.
It just makes you feel bad because it took that tree a long time to grow. So hug a tree.
The history, right?
Like a tree. Yeah, you gotta like a tree. Okay, enough about trees. Here we go now, as promised, our CBB Community Bulletin Board file. In celebration of Arlington Public Library's sixth annual Lego exhibit, they're busting out their own Legos, and you're invited to see what you can create. This event is intended for children 6th grade and up, but it's also for imaginative adults. That's coming up Wednesday, October 24, from 4 to 5 in the PM portion of the day at Glencarlin Branch Library, 300 South Kensington Street. For more information and registration, contact the library. Daniel.
Well, Craig, here's an event for families with kids between the ages of 5 and 12. It's called Build a Fairy Village, but it also includes building villages for toads, skinks, and trolls. Medieval and magical costumes are encouraged. The cost is $5 per child. That all takes place on Friday, October the 26th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. at the Gulf Branch Nature Center and Park located at 3608 North Military Road. If you need any more information, just give them a call. That's at 703-228-3403.
Village for Toads. There you go. Also in our CBB file, there'll be an updated radio version of H.G. Wells' classic War of the Worlds on WERALP FM 96.7. That's coming up Wednesday, October 24 from 2. Starts about 2 in the afternoon. This new version is presented by Jabberwocky Theater. Be sure to tune in and check it out on WERA. And don't forget to watch the skies. Daniel.
Well, Craig, when making home improvements, there are a lot of options to consider. Well, Janine Finch from Arlington County's Consumer Protection Office will provide information to help homeowners make the best choice when hiring a home renovation contractor. That all takes place on October the 29th. That's a Monday at 11 a.m. at the Arlington Mills Senior Center, located at 909 South Dinwiddie Street. If you need any more information, and yes, even to register, give them a call at 703-228-7369.
All right, gracias, Senor Pineda. Don't go away. News for Seniors coming up right after we hear from Denise and her reviews. Here's Denise.
Just in time for Halloween season, Cinetic Theater has turned its attention to wordlessly retelling America's first ghost story, Washington Irving's Sleepy Hollow. Not only do they give the story their own silent treatment and dynamic movement, they have decided to retell it from the point of view of the Headless Horseman himself, the man he was before becoming a terror. Forget the image of Ichabod Crane as a slight and superstitious schoolmaster. Brought to life by Vato Tishkurishvili, he's a fearless soldier who actually beheaded the Hessian during the war. The horseman is depicted by company member Scott S. Turner in some incredibly choreographed fight scenes. Brom, played by Justin J. Bell, killed the Hessian's horse and afterward competed with Ichabod for the hand of Katrina, the Cinetic newcomer McLean Jesse. The spirit of the dead Hessian's horse is the surprise character in this play, and she is brought to life by 3 puppeteers. Her graceful movements and powerful galloping were some of my favorite moments in the show. Kudos to Cinetic for constantly expanding their vision of familiar characters. The resurrected Hessian and his horse are really breathtaking. There is, of course, a healthy dose of severed heads featured in the action here. And when the horseman is finally reunited with his, he can rest in peace at last. Cinetic's director and choreographer, Pata and Arina Tishkurishvili, constantly refine their unique method of telling a story. Costume designer Eric Teague and scenic designer Phil Chartwood give the story its distinctive look with their period costumes and spooky and skeletal forest of massive trees. Konstantin Lortkipinadze frequently composes the music for these shows, but it was especially gratifying to see him playing the piano on stage, appropriately dressed as a headless soldier. Sleepy Hollow plays through November 4th at Cinetic Theater. You'll be transfixed as you watch the Headless Horseman and his gallant steed as they exact their revenge on the men who ended their mortal lives. You may always think of Sleepy Hollow as the story of the schoolmaster who is driven out of town by the macho Brom Van Brunt, but chances are this version will carve out its own niche in your memory. Next, let me tell you about Heisenberg at Signature Theater. You do not need any knowledge of Werner Heisenberg's uncertainty principle to enjoy this latest work by Simon Stevens, the playwright better known for the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime. Heisenberg is a love story that begins when Rachel Zampelli's Georgie Burns sees Michael Risuto's Alex Priest at a London train station and kisses him on the back of the neck. He is shocked, but faces her, and the introductions begin. She thought he was someone else. But wait, that someone died 18 months ago. She's an assassin. No, that's not true. She's a waitress. Actually, that's not true either. She is an American, a rather flighty 40-something American, snapping a rubber band against her wrist to deter her from some sort of impulsive behavior. He's a rather stoic and handsome 75-year-old Irish man who has lived in London and operated his own butcher shop for decades. But something in that chance meeting raises an attraction between them, and we are swept up in their acting upon that attraction. Later we find out that she has been rejected by her 19-year-old son, who is back in New Jersey, and Alex commits to helping her find him again. Veteran signature Joe Colarco directs this intimate two-character play in the round at Signature's Arc Theater. The playwright specified a spare stage, and this one, designed by Pamela Weiner, has a bright red floor and a wooden structure that can morph from a bed to benches at the train station to a meat case in the butcher shop, and more. It can be reconfigured silently or with percussive slams if a scene change needs emotional volume, supplied by sound designer Kenny Neal. The bank of stage lights by Andrew Cisna are prominently featured. One of my favorite moments that humanizes Georgie is her reaction to the frustration of finding something in her overstuffed bag. She dumps the entire thing into an open, inverted umbrella to simplify the process. There are many other subtle moments in this May-December romance, so endearingly portrayed by Zempelli and Risuto. There is uncertainty in what the future might hold for them, but you'll be rooting for them to face it together. Plan to see Heisenberg at Signature Theater. It continues through November 11th. I'm Denise Pringle. Now back to the news desk.
All right, thanks, Denise.
Yeah.
Her thoughts
Ichabod.
on Ichabod.
Crane. I love that.
Her thoughts on Sleepy Hollow and Heisenberg at Signature Theater. Thanks, Denise. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Denise.
it as always. Okay, as promised, now here we go with News for Seniors. News for Seniors, glasses in place. That's what it looks like. Each year, from October 15 to December 7, Medicare holds an open enrollment period where folks can make changes to their Part D or Part C benefits. A certified Medicare counselor from Virginia Insurance Counseling and Assistance Program will be available for confidential one-on-one sessions to help compare plans for cost savings. That's coming up on Wednesday, October 24, from 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon at Walter Reed Senior Center in Park, 2909 South 16th Street. For more information and to make an appointment, call them at this number, 703-228-0955. Daniel.
Well, Craig, the creative talents of seniors from Langston, Brown, and Lee Senior Centers will be showcased in an arts and crafts exhibit. The exhibit will include paintings, drawings, paper crafts, knitted and crocheted items. The exhibit is open to the public, and that all takes place on Friday, October the 26th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Langston Brown Senior Center. Craig, that's located at 2121 North Culpeper Street. If you need any more information, just give them a call, Craig, at 703-228-6300. I know you are very excited about that event.
I'm going to call him. All right, also in our CBB file, Arlington's Department of Human Services is conducting an outreach program to answer seniors' questions about services and resources available in the county. A representative from DHS will be available to help give assistance in applying for various services, such as affordable housing or citizenship. And that event is coming up Thursday, October 25, from 10 in the morning till 11 in the morning at Walter Reed Senior Center, 2909 South 16th Street. This will be on a first-come, first-served basis, so call early. For more information and registration, call them at 703-228-0955. Daniel.
And Craig, another activity that you might be interested in. Arlington Mills Senior Center is hosting a social art swap, and it's inviting local artists to bring a piece of artwork or supplies to make a piece of art on site. This is an opportunity to trade and network with others. The event will be held on Sunday, October the 26th from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. at the Arlington Mill Community and Senior Center. That's located at 909 South Dinwiddie Street. Craig, again, any more information, give them a call at 703-228-7369. And of course, Craig, we want to thank our own Judy Massobny for contributing to our senior stories for tonight and every night. Her hard work and dedication really does pay off.
Beautiful. We appreciate it. Thanks, Judy. All right, we'll be back with sign off and bye-bye right after we hear from our Styrofoam mom. Here's Miriam.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Sustainable Scoop. Well, Tuesday, November 6th, we'll go to the polls, and whether you're voting for one party or another one thing you really want is for your vote to count. And joining me today is Lillian Clementi. She's with One Virginia 2021. Welcome, Lillian.
Thank you so much. I'm really pleased to be here.
Well, I'm really pleased to have you here because I learned a lot preparing for this story. You're concerned about gerrymandering in the state of Virginia. Tell us what gerrymandering is.
When we vote, we're divided into districts, and those lines have to be drawn by somebody. And generally, where your district is and how many people are in it and who is in it will determine who gets elected. When the districts are drawn fairly, people are represented by their politicians. Politicians listen to their people, and the will of the people gets represented. When they're gerrymandered, it means that one party or the other has drawn the lines in a way that benefits a particular group, whether it's a racial group or a political group. Racial gerrymandering is against the law. Political gerrymandering is perfectly legal, and Virginia is one of the 5 or 6 most gerrymandered states in the country.
And it's also what some people would call a purple state. So we agree on some things, we disagree on others.
Correct.
So why is it that your group is out there trying to explain this to people? And frankly, why are you getting such a positive response?
Well, gerrymandering tends to reward extremes, and it is one of the reasons our politics are so polarized now. What we want to do is amend the state constitution to take the line drawing away from partisan politicians and give it to an independent commission so that the lines can be drawn in a way that allows voters to pick politicians instead of the other way around.
Right, exactly. Those little ink blot drawings that look so very bizarre.
Exactly. Is it a squirrel? Is it a mermaid? Is it a wig? You can have a fair district that looks funny, that makes a funny shape. Right. But the ones that we have now are engineered to benefit one party over the other. This was a bipartisan gerrymander in 2011. The Republicans and Democrats in the General Assembly got together, reached what they called a gentleman's agreement, and gerrymandered the Senate districts for the Democrats and the General Assembly, the delegates, for the Republicans.
Okay, so that is not democracy, and that is certainly not what the citizens want.
Exactly.
But your process of trying to get to the point where legislators are not drawing those lines is quite intricate. So what kind of steps do you have to take to get us to that point?
We have to pass a first read of a constitutional amendment through the very legislature that is the problem. They have to swallow the pill. So we pass it through the legislature once, we have an election, we pass it through the legislature again without changing a period or a comma, and then we have to have a referendum.
So the only way to make this happen is citizens really need to raise their voice.
Correct, because it's in the interest of politicians to keep the status quo. The only weapon we have is pressure from voters. It's people like you and me letting the politicians know that we're not going to put up with this anymore.
Well, I think what's really fascinating is that you have this idea that an independent group, a bipartisan group, would be better at making these decisions. Can you talk about some of the people that come together that are working on this legislation? Right
now we have an amendment drafting committee of about 10 people that's at work drafting the amendment that we'll propose to the legislature for their session in January of next year.
Now, is that bipartisan?
Oh, yes. It's a mix of people who are experts in election law, the politics of the state constitution. There are Democrats and Republicans on this committee. They are very diverse geographically, politically, and so forth. They all believe that the system we have now is not working.
Now, you live here in Arlington,
I do.
But you're willing to travel around to other districts. And tell me what it's like to actually be able to talk about democracy without talking about bipartisan politics.
It's incredibly refreshing. I was in Lovettsville at their Oktoberfest a couple of Saturdays ago, and people obviously people inside the Beltway are much more on top of this kind of issue than people outside. We tend to be more obsessed with it, and they're kind of getting on with their lives. So we do a little bit more talking about what redistricting is and what gerrymandering is. But once people realize that this is about making the playing field level, that this is about making every vote count the same. They are really on board with it. Sure, we get pushback from people who think that it's going to, you know, their ox is going to get gored. But most people are very much in favor of this.
Well, what's fascinating is you say that it's one of the things that most Virginians agree upon.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. The Doug Wilder, I think it's the School of Public Policy, ran a poll in early August, and what they found was only 16% of Virginians want the status quo to remain. Only 16% of Virginians believe that the legislature should be drawing its own lines.
Wow.
So that means 84% of us think something needs to change.
So this is great, something we can actually agree on. And,
Yes!
And democracy is
Yes.
certainly something. I mean, this is where it all starts, here in Virginia, and then it spreads around the country. I mean, we're geographically located to be a leader on this. There are some other states that have this policy in place?
Well, there are some states that are ahead of us. California, for example, has done redistricting reform. There's been reform in Arizona. In fact, our amendment drafting committee is looking very carefully at what other states have done.
So what can we do? How do we get in touch with you? How do we volunteer? And definitely, how do we sign those petitions?
The way to get in touch with One Virginia is to go to our website, onevirginia2021.org, O-N-E, Virginia2021.org.
And for Arlingtonians?
If you want to work with us, and we would love it if you did, we could use all the help we can get, it's arlington@onevirginia2021.org, and we'd love to hear from you.
Lillian, I am so grateful that we ran into you. I'm so grateful that you're out there doing this work, and I really wish you a lot of luck, and let's just get through this election, and then we'll try to move on.
Terrific.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Come back and see us.
I'd love
All right,
to.
remember, November 6th, you be out there and voting. I'm Miriam Gennari. That's the Sustainable Scoop. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Miriam.
Thank you,
Our
Miriam.
styrofoam mom. Talking about
Gerrymandering.
gerrymandering.
Yes.
Who knew? Gerrymandering is, well, it's I guess it's legal, isn't it?
It's not reputable and doesn't help
It's
democracy.
not reputable, you're right. But it's only temporary, apparently, because they can change it whenever
Well, they can re-gerrymander.
they can re-gerrymander
Yeah.
whenever they get the thing pushed through, both houses, I guess.
And
It
we're
have to
one of-
pass both houses, I'm sure it
Right.
does.
And we're one of the most gerrymandered states. That's what
That's
they were
what she
talking
said,
about.
Yeah, Virginia
That's
is.
interesting.
So there you go, a lesson on gerrymandering. Watch out for those gerrymanderers. They're out
Yep.
there. Be careful, they're out there. Okay, well, we just about reached the end of this fun and frivolity here on our pre-Halloween show. Anything to add?
Yes,
Oh,
I
you
did
have a
want to
birthday
wish my
announcement.
dad,
Happy
Carlos Pineda,
Carlos.
a happy birthday, Dad. I love you very much. 60 years.
Happy birthday
To you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear
In
Carlos.
Spanish,
Come on, Carlos.
Feliz cumpleaños a ti.
Yes, he learned that
Feliz
today.
cumpleaños a ti,
Yeah.
Señor
I love you, Dad.
Carlos.
60 years.
All right. Well, that's it. I guess we've stretched about long enough. We got to get out of here and move on and make way for somebody else.
And enjoy the weather.
Thank you for watching. Yes, enjoy the weather. Thank you for watching this edition of Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News. We appreciate your patronage out there. And next week, if you're out there, we'll be here and we'll try it all again. Have a safe week. Bye-bye.